Welcome to Horizons of Thought, and to week 2, and hopefully my final week, of managed quarantine here in New Zealand. I've now been in managed quarantine at the Distinction Hotel for a little over a week, and I have about 1 week left. And I can tell you a little bit more about what it's like. On the most negative side, I've mentioned this before, is the nasal swab tests used for COVID-19. All I've got to say about this is I'm sure that in the past, this had to be one of those kinds of things that if you did it to somebody, they took out one of those soft gloves that they used to have back in the day, slap you across the face, demand satisfaction, and have a pistol duel at dawn over it. Because it's just crazy how difficult these nasal swab tests can be. Now, having said that, they're not all the same. I've now had 2 here. The first one was absolutely horrific, and I was smelling colors like usual. The second one was a kind of just the tip version of the nasal swab test, and it wasn't nearly as bad. Both of them came back negative, and the staff here anticipate that I will be able to leave here next Monday, which is very, very nice. The second negative thing that I can say is that the exercise yard was even more boring than I imagined it to be. Have any of you guys watched prison movies? All I've got to tell you is those exercise yards that you see in prison movies that look bleak and miserable, I would absolutely love to have an exercise yard as nice as the ones in prisons right now. The exercise yard we have here is really, really tiny, and there's nothing you can do in it except walk around a little bit. You can't even lift weights or do any of the cool things you see prisoners do in exercise yards in the movies. I imagine real exercise yards in prisons are actually more like the kind that I'm experiencing here. But anyways, I digress. That's really the only 2 serious negative things here, because by and large, the food has remained quite good. And one of the interesting things anybody who's traveled a lot can tell you is food can seem really good for a day or 2. But after a while, the food you're being served really grates on you. My father used to be a traveling salesman, and he would tell me that when you look up reviews of food in various cities, you want to skip past what regular customers think is good, or even what food critics think is good, and go directly to what people who work in newspapers think is good, or salespeople think is good. Because those are the people who have to regularly eat out all the time. And they get sick of a high salt, high fat food. They want something that's more like simple home cooking. And the food here in this hotel is a bit like that. It's much better than you think it is, even at first, once you've had to eat it for a few days. And that's really nice. Kudos to the people at the Distinction Hotel for pulling that off, because we're stuck here for 2 weeks and it matters a lot. Having said that, I've liked everything. There's a particular sandwich they have here that wasn't my favorite. So a couple of times I ordered out Uber Eats. Uber Eats has been surprisingly good at this hotel. I've been quite impressed with the fact that you can give them basic instructions, and they've done it really quick, and the food has still arrived in a reasonably warm condition. That surprised me. I wasn't expecting Uber Eats to work out as well as it has, so I've been quite grateful for that. Food being good, service being good. And the service at the hotel is absolutely amazing. When I've ordered anything from the hotel, if their kitchens are still open and they can make it for you, it gets to my door within about 15 minutes. Even a pizza got here in 15 minutes, made in the 20 minutes, made in the hotel oven. I was really impressed with it too. It was a little undercooked on the bottom. That's typical of most pizzas that I order anywhere, but the toppings were delicious. It was a wonderful pepperoni pizza made in a decent stone grill oven. And you could tell that it was a proper oven and had that kind of taste. So I was really happy with that. What else can I say? I think one of the coolest things about my experience here, unlike what a lot of other people have gone through, is I've been able to do research here. So I've been working on experiments for the New Zealand government and for a grant that I'm on, where we run a particle counter. I'm going to go grab that. I'll show it to you really quick. We use a particle counter to count the particles in the air. And it was hilarious playing with this thing because, as you can see, it looks like a Ghostbusters toy. It's really neat. And, the particles go in here and they get counted in here, and it counts them in 5-minute lots for 24 hours. And so we ran this thing twice. Once to count particles in the room when there was no extra filtration going on, and once to count particles in the room when we had this device here, an air filter running. That's this device over here. The reason why we did this particular way is because we want to find out what the effect of an extra air filtration system would be on getting rid of particles in the environment, to see if simple air filtration devices, which aren't very expensive, can supplement the ventilation in hotels to make sure that somebody who's a super spreader is less likely to spread COVID-19 to any of the staff who meet them at the door. Now, I have to say that the hotel system matters a lot for something like this too. So if you are at a cheaper or more simple hotel, it may not have a very good ventilation system. It'll only circulate air in the room 2 times an hour. If you're at a hotel like this, the circulation may be as high as 3 times an hour. And the way it works is they have high pressure in the stairwells. That's in case the hotel catches on fire. People can stand in the stairwells for up to 6 hours without getting burnt down while the hotel itself is even on fire. That's one of the benefits of having high pressure in stairwells. At the same time, the corridors will have higher pressure than the room. So air always flows from corridors into the room when you open the door, which matters in order to prevent staff at hotels from getting sick. And that's been implemented for a long time in many of the better hotels. So you just piggyback on something that was already done for the purposes of preventing the spreading of disease in order to benefit managed quarantine in hotels. So the research, my point is really interesting and really something that has made me feel a bit better about being in this situation. Now, having said that, there are difficulties in being in managed isolation, one of which is I flew from Singapore here to New Zealand. And when you fly in that direction, you get something called East Coast jet lag. East Coast jet lag makes you want to get up late and go to bed late. And my usual solution to that is to get out as soon as I arrive at the new place, no matter how tired I am, and go for a long walk. Because what you want to do on that first day is go to sleep as early as you can tolerate so that you can start pushing the clock backwards. Otherwise, you got to go the long way. And it looks like I'm going the long way because I have been up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, then falling asleep, not getting up till 11:30, because I'm finding it incredibly exhausting to try to do it the other way. So what my body is doing is trying to go in a 25-hour clock cycle and move me in the opposite direction. Rather than dealing with just 5 days of jet lag, my body wants me to deal with something on the order of 19 days of jet lag. So that's an issue. Another issue is it's not like quarantine was at the start of the year when, yes, we were locked up in our houses, but we could cook. We can't cook in the managed quarantine places. And I didn't realize how much that matters to my psychology. But I'm a very good cook. I love to cook, and I can't wait to have my kitchen back. It's really an issue for me. So there are definitely these kinds of things that take their toll on you when you're in managed quarantine. But all in all, it's been a pretty decent experience. I've managed to goof off and play games. I've managed to do work. I've managed to work on grant writing. I've managed to do all sorts of kinds of things on this trip. I've had many phone calls with many friends, which has been very nice. So I've done and made the best of the situation and made sure that I'm enjoying myself as much as humanly possible during this managed quarantine. And that's about all I have to say on that. This has been Horizons of Thought. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please click the like button. And if you did not, please click dislike. In either case, I would love to see your comments on this issue, and I will attempt to address all of your questions. Thank you, and have a great day. I will see you in a week or two. So we ran this thing twice. Once to count